Hi, I'm Tina Stuffel. I'm standing here at the entrance to my art studio, and today I'm going to take you on a tour so you can see what really happens here. This is right here in the entrance. Just have a few little things hanging on the wall. Most of my work is tied up in galleries now, so I do have this one small painting that I've done of a seascape. I love the ocean and nature and sunsets, so I just really did like this one. And then since my work is tied up and I wanted to do something with this space, I decided to support some of my fellow artists. This is a print from a very talented artist friend of mine in Texas. His name is Doug Heiser. And the piece really spoke to me for some reason. It's really pretty and it just feels good when I look at it. And also the way this looks here, I'm a Capricorn, so that definitely was speaking to me. And then this is a print of Franklin D. Roosevelt. It's an unfinished portrait that I have a print of. Apparently he passed away in the middle of the artist painting this. It was really interesting to tour his house here, which is south of Atlanta. I would say maybe an hour and a half south. It's in Warm Springs. Tiny little home compared to what we have nowadays, but definitely very interesting. Also have one other little pastel I bought from my friend Peggy Paulson. She's very, very, very talented, and I just love her work. So I'm happy to be supporting my fellow artists and having these things here in my studio. Next, I'm going to take you a little deeper into the studio. So let's take a look here at some of the books I have. Okay, so most of you know I've mostly self-taught. I did want to go to college for fine arts, but long story, that just did not happen. I ended up going to be a hairstylist, and then I went to school for fashion merchandising. So if you take a quick look, I have a sewing book. I'm not sure why I keep it, because I despise sewing. It just, God love my grandma tried to teach me, and I spent more time ripping seams. But you know, I've got books on color and design, and this book from Allison Stanfield, if you're an artist, that was her first copy of her book. And I'd highly recommend it. I'm running out of room here, so things are getting a little bit stacked. I did just go through and clean this place though, so I'm pretty proud of myself. So anyway, I thought I had some of my fashion design books up here, and maybe I'm just not seeing them right now, but anyway, I have a lot on drawing and painting. As you can see, this book here, I highly recommend if you're new or wanting to hone in on your drawing skills. This was recommended by my high school art teacher, and it's fantastic. Next, I just have a lot of sketch pads, lots of them. I have acrylic paints, which I don't use a whole lot, but they do come in handy sometimes. And just, I think these are just old kitty paints and some acrylic painting mediums stuck in here. Craft supplies for when I occasionally make things at home. Some candle making materials that I did around Christmas time, and these are things that I use to wire my canvases. Occasionally do a little bit of framing, which also frustrates me almost as much as sewing does. So, and then second off, I'll take you over here. This is where I try to store a lot of my paints. So I try really hard to keep myself organized, but they end up over there closer to where I use them often, which is my workstation next to my easel, and I'll take you around that way here in just a minute. I just want you to kind of get a concept and an idea of what all goes in to being an artist, operating an art studio. There's a lot involved, a lot more than people think. I believe we don't just sit and draw and paint all day, which we would like to do, but there's more to it. These are stretcher bars, just some of them. And then I have several more in the basement, because I find building my own canvases is, I get a better quality product from them, and it's more economical, so I can offer my art to you at a better price. I have a few frames on hand for the occasional things I pop in frames, but anymore I'm painting them on the gallery depth, which is a 1.5 inch minimum size, and then I paint the sides so it can just be hung right on your wall. My items on my website will stipulate whether they're framed or unframed and if the sides are painted. So like again, there's some more frames. This is a pinch messy. Oh yeah, more canvas. Some of my paintings, small paintings in the box. Some stretch canvases and things I'm not working with at the moment here. So I'm going to take you through the rest. Okay, so over here this is a work table. There's a lot of things moving and grooving and shaking in here, so this space can get messy easily. I'm really proud again that I just cleaned everything up. I'll do shipping from here. Sometimes I will work with someone one-on-one. I don't do classes at this point in time, but I have mentored a couple of high school seniors for their senior project in painting. Oh yeah, and that's my painting I just finished the other day, the honeysuckle. So my drying painting, my paintings that are drying will go here often. And also if I'm, laying them down to paint the sides, working with them, shipping, whatever it may be. And this book is very special to me because it was given to me by, I don't know, one of my kids' old toys ended up in here. This was given to me by my former supervisor at Ella Sears, which was a beautiful department store in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was downtown, and it's a long story, but the building's been there for a long time. I think they did not tear the front of it down because it was probably a historic landmark. I'm not quite sure. A lot of the items from that store are in the Indianapolis Museum or the Indiana State Museum. I think that's the one. So it's pretty neat to see, without going into that long story right now. This book has meaning to me. I worked with them after I went to school for fashion merchandising, and I worked in the advertising department. So it was an interesting job. Then, when they closed their doors, they offered for me to move to St. Louis, and I'm like, no, thank you. Sorry if any of you live in St. Louis, but it's just not a place I wanted to be. I always knew that if I went anywhere, I would go south. And I did that in a couple years after that. Meantime, I took a job with a printing broker who also closed his doors, and he said, hey, you know what to do. So I did this part-time while I was waiting tables. I had a business, and that was me right there. And I designed my own logo, and this was one of our bartenders was a taxidermist. And Chris Wiggs, if you're out there anywhere, I've totally lost touch with you. Get a hold of me. Chris also kind of helped me get into some bodybuilding and working out. Cool dude. I think this is just a standard card or two that I did here. This, Alice, is, I have a friend, Alice, and she's one of my best friends I used to work with here as a hairstylist in Indianapolis. She's since moved to Chicago and is doing really well there. So Alice Claxton, if you're up in the Chicago area, look her up. She's a cool girl. And this is some things I did for the 50s place I worked at, Dana. My friend Dana that was just here visiting was just mentioning me printing those things for them. And here's a few more things that I did. Just nothing too exciting. I thought that logo I designed was pretty cute there. And when I was cleaning my studio, oh my gosh, I got so excited. Move my candle over. I love candles. I found this sculpting set, and this is horrible, but I completely forgot that I bought it. It was during Christmas when I was shopping, and I was busy, but I found a deal on it and I bought it. So I do have an interest in sculpting. I always have, and someday I will approach that. But for now, it's, well, for now I'm working on a special project I'd like to tell you about.